Welcome back to the channel. I have a new package from Sweetwater. Let's see what it is. So, in addition to unboxing the product, this is also a good opportunity to look at Sweetwater's packaging, which is always great in my experience. This is actually a demo. Said the unit was in excellent condition. The box was a little bit worse for wear, which is fine. So, this is something a little different from what you're used to seeing on this channel. It is, I'm very excited, a Focusrite Clarett 4Pre. So, as some of you may know, and if not, please check it out, in addition to doing these gear demos, I release my own original music. I've released 3 albums, an EP, and 2 singles, one of them from one of the albums. And so far, I have done it all on this, the good old Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. I think this is a 2nd generation. It was manufactured October 2014. You can see it has 2 inputs, 2 outputs, 1 headphone output, and for basic recording purposes, especially for those just starting out, it's great. Has your 48 volt power there, line and instrument switches here, direct monitor, there's your monitor power, headphone power. It covers all the basics great, but I was looking for an upgrade. I looked through so many. I actually ordered an Audient i24 from Amazon, and it came, and it was supposed to be new, and it was used, so I sent it back. And I reconsidered because there were 3 things I really wanted in particular to upgrade. Keep in mind, it's usually me, vocals, I do, guitar, I do. Sometimes I get someone else to do vocals, as I'm not the best singer in the world, and I'd like to get more into that. And one of the downfalls is not having 2 headphone outputs and not having enough outputs, and to mic an acoustic guitar in a very, if it's a solo acoustic setting, you want at least 2, maybe even 3 mics. So 4 inputs. Let's just take a look. That was one of the big things I wanted. So one thing I wanted, more inputs, boom. Second thing I wanted, double headphone outputs, which for my purposes will be great. Because in the past, having recorded vocals, background vocals of someone else, the way that works is, especially you have to go to where they are to record it, you have to plug in the headphones, let them sing, and then you listen back, which is not efficient. Because I have my little home studio here. I do not have a proper studio. So I don't have it set up to where like I'm in a control room listening through studio monitors and they're in the booth or whatever. So that will be great for that specific purpose. This will allow me to get 3 mics on acoustic guitars. It's a little bit dirty, but it is a demo. Then some of the other thing I mainly wanted too was this is supposed to be an upgraded preamp. I was actually deciding to get the Scarlett Focusrite 18i8, which checks most of these boxes, the 3rd generation. It would be an upgrade of the preamp over my trusty 2i2, but not as much as this. This is the type for someone like me that unless my situation changes and I start truly having a real home studio or recording bands, this will be all I ever need probably. And a lot of these things I'm talking about, I don't claim to be an expert, just an enthusiastic amateur. But we have our 4 inputs, XLR and line-in inputs. Each one has their control here. You have, I think it goes in pairs, the 48 volt power there, monitor there, individual headphone powers. It does have a power switch, which is great, so you don't have to just, that's one thing about the Scarlett, I always feel bad just unplugging it and plugging it. It has MIDI out, MIDI in, optical in, USB-C. Does need an independent power supply, so I'm gonna have to get used to that. But SPDIF, here's your line outputs here. Here are more inputs on the back, and it is ADAT, so you can add more ends to it, which is another thing I want in case I did want to expand and add a dedicated preamp. I think you can add the Octopre to this. I say that, but that's so far down the line for what I would have to use it for. This would definitely be all that I need. So, I will freely admit, I am not skilled enough and experienced enough in recording anything other than myself, though I like to think I do a pretty good job on my recordings for someone who, my friend Dusty from the band Retronym actually went to school for this, and he helps me a lot and has given me a lot of guidance, but other than his guidance, I've just learned as I have gone, and just come with a power adapter. And it's gotten to the point where I did want to expand some, but this is probably the limit of my capabilities. And the reason I'm saying this is that I'm not the one to give you a professional level audio engineer review of this thing. Just like most of my reviews, I'm coming at this as someone who is a great enthusiast for recording and playing music, but I have a full-time day job. As much as I'd love to do this full-time, I can't. And I teach myself and try to do the best I possibly can under those circumstances. So that's the angle I'm coming at it. So the only actual thing you're going to get from me today, other than this brief overview, and let me say, I'm very pleased with the Sweetwater packaging so far. Of course, I've not got it up and running yet. It's everything I wanted. I am going to do the simplest comparison of all, a guitar sound comparison. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to get the gain levels set the same and do blind tests with both mic'd and SM57 on a speaker cabinet, each one of these, and I'm going to do line in, and honestly haven't decided what I'm going to use for that yet. But maybe the Katana, maybe the DSL-1, maybe the tube amp modeler, we'll see. But it'll be fun to see if, everything else being equal, you can tell the difference in the preamps or anything else about it. And just so you know, I use Logic on an Apple computer, and that'll really be all that's going on. I'm not going to do anything in post, and if I do decide that maybe a little bit of compression or EQ is necessary, I will do the exact same thing to each track. So what you're going to hear now are the blind sound samples between the Focusrite Clarett 4Pre, current generation, and the, again, second generation. If that is wrong, you will see it go across the bottom of the screen, which you may have earlier as well, Focusrite 2i2 Scarlett. And again, this is, I think, a pretty logical upgrade, so this might be something that a lot of you could find interesting. And I won't keep on talking about things I am not an expert in, so let's get to those sound samples. Those were all recorded with an SM57 going directly into the respective audio interfaces, directly into Logic. I did no compression, no reverb, no EQ, nothing in Logic. Those are raw. And of course, I used the pictured PRS SE Swamp Ash Special as the guitar for them all. So, before I reveal which is which, we're going to do another set of sound samples going directly into these, respectively, from a BOSS Katana. And change it up, I will use the American original 60s Telecaster. So, just to be clear, the previous ones were all mic'd. We're lining in for the next set. So let's see how they sound. Oh, and let me say too, I'm not telling you yet which is A and which is B, but A and B will be the same ones in this next test too. So it will be consistent. That will also give you an idea to try to guess if maybe there's a bigger difference in the mic'd sounds and the line in sounds. But A in the first will be A in the second, B will be B again. We'll be back and see the results after these line sound samples. And we are back. So let me say that those were all directly lined in from a BOSS Katana. All the EQs were set on 5 with a little bit of reverb, a little bit of chorus from the Katana. So, which is which? Make your final guesses. And audio interface A was the Clarett 4Pre. B was the Scarlett 2i2. So let me say that I think that it was closer than I thought it was going to be. In the mic'd examples especially, the old Scarlett was much closer to the Clarett than I thought it was going to be. I can't help but do this without using all the buzzwords. I thought that this one was a little fuller sounding, a little rounder sounding. This one was slightly harsher in the high end. And I say that having listened to them both through monitors, through headphones, through the computer speakers, and it's consistent, but the difference I think personally is small. Of course, you heard it for yourself and make your own determinations. I think the difference was a little bit bigger in the line-in examples. I think they call it the high Z JFET input that this has. That's one of the advantages. Basically, it means it's better equipped to handle a higher output signal like you get lining in an electric guitar. I think that all those same qualities for each were evident in the line in examples, but the difference was a little bit bigger. But still, I think that just shows that for about $200, and again, this is the 2 generations old, I believe now. I think it maybe is a 3rd generation. I don't know. But it's maybe someone who knows more about it than me, but it says right here on the bottom, it was made in October of 2014, as I said earlier. You can get one of these used very cheap. If all you're doing is recording guitar, I think this is a great way to go, because the new one of these is around $200. This one on sale at the moment, because it's a few days before Christmas, for $600. Full retail is $700. So in sound quality, there is a difference, but not a huge difference. Now, granted, this can do a lot more than this can. You can just look at it and tell all the different inputs. Again, 2 headphones, 1 headphone output here. I mean, this can do a lot more. But if pure sound quality is what you're going for, this one really stacks up pretty well. Especially if you're just making demos at home and things like that. Now, I record my own original music, put it out on all the streaming services. I've released 2 albums, an EP, and 2 singles. And I'm wanting to constantly try to learn more and step my game up in recording quality. And that's one reason why I've gotten this. And I continue to try to maybe get my personal focus away from doing what I enjoy doing the most, which is spending my extra money on guitars and trading and getting new ones of those, and maybe getting some more practically useful equipment like this instead, because that's where my focus is. But if your focus is just on recording demos, maybe making YouTube videos, something of that nature, the Focusrite Scarlett series will serve you very well. And of course, there's all kinds of great, inexpensive audio interfaces now. But I think the biggest takeaway I'm personally getting from this is that I'm happy I got this one. I think that this is a minor sound upgrade, big upgrade in some other features. But what I said earlier, I think is going to prove true for me. And that is, I don't need to spend twice as much or more on upgraded preamps and things of that nature to do what I need to do. This should be, like they say about cars, this is all the car I need. I don't need any more car than this. And because frankly, it gets to the point that unless you're going to be getting, you know, actual, real big studio boards and equipment, very much diminishing returns. We talk about in many of my past videos the diminishing sound returns in, you know, say an American Telecaster to a nice Mexican-made Player Series Telecaster. It's very small. It's not nearly the price difference. Not saying the American's not better, but diminishing returns. I think that's definitely true in this realm as well. But again, I don't feel qualified to give full in-depth reviews of these devices. I am not a professional audio engineer. I am a guitar player. And all I can say for sure is, having listened to blind sound samples with them both similar gain settings, unedited in Logic, that this sounds very slightly better to me. But again, you can go through all the different sound samples and make your own determinations. So this was a lot of fun, a little bit different. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, keep on rocking.